Hi there, it's John from Commercial Real Estate Online. Welcome to the program. Welcome to this particular matrix which relates to shopping centre leasing. I've covered off on a number of issues already in this matrix, and indeed the matrix is extremely large. So it's very relevant if you're involved with retail properties from a leasing or management perspective, maybe even sales, depending on what you need to do in a sales perspective. But all of the issues here can help you. So, in the previous couple of videos, I covered off on the 2 points here in this particular program, that is the lease detail and also the current tenants in looking at shopping centres. So those videos exist on the channel as well, so by all means check those out. Today I want to cover off on vacancy factors. The vacancy factors that I would look at when I'm looking at a shopping centre. Now, to help you with that, there is an article at the website which I've written for you, which is 10 ways to prevent high vacancy factors and tenant turnover. What I want you to look at and move through are these particular issues here. So important. Those issues there will help you get control of the tenancy mix and understand exactly what's going on. So this is the article. Search it at the website. The website is commercial-realestate-training.com, and search that particular article at the website. And of course, you can then chase down the ideas to work with. So let's go further into this topic. And now I'm looking at vacancy factors in a shopping centre. Starting at the very top, of course, I want to understand the new vacancies that are there or the vacancies that are current. So there could be some vacancies that are coming up with the existing tenancy mix. What are they? Where are they? And how is that going to impact my cash flow? Then I look at the current vacancies. Then I'll probably go out there and have a look at comparable properties, because they will also be impacted by vacancy factors. So the comparable properties are other shopping centres in the same general area. That for me would be the surrounding 5 miles or so, or maybe 10 kilometres, whatever you want to work to. But understand the comparable properties, because they also get your customers for various reasons. So why are those properties so successful? You need to understand that. And when you do, you can move further into the vacancy factors, which is what I'm sharing here. So the vacancy factors. I do a full SWOT analysis of the property: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. The strengths of the tenancy mix. What tenancy aspects there are so strong that cannot be disputed? Perhaps good tenants in certain locations. Where are the weaknesses with the vacancies? What are the opportunities to fill those vacancies? And what are the threats? Now, the threats could very well come from the comparable properties, of course. Now, a critical dates report is the next thing that I will look at. And a critical dates report relates to the leases. These things. The options, the rent reviews, any make goods that need to be done, tenancy works, that sort of thing. The critical dates that apply within the tenancy mix. I go right through those, because those critical dates will impact what I've got to do and the times that I need to do that. The leases will have critical dates. The vacancies will be there whilst you're dealing with critical dates, which could be options, rent reviews, the make goods with tenancies, tenancy works. Now, as you would imagine, you've got some vacancies to deal with, but you've got to work with the market rents. So what sort of market rents have you got? Well, you've got these. These are different terminologies, but they are very important when you're assessing market rents. You will have the rents within the property, of course, but you've got vacancies. So you've got to think about the market rents that will apply when you're leasing those vacancies. So the passing rents are the passing rents in the property at the moment. That's easy. What are they? Who's paying those rents? Are those rents fair and reasonable? Now, they will either be net or gross rents. If they're gross rents, then the outgoings are included in the rent payment. If, however, they are net rents, then the outgoings will be separate to the rent payment. So the net rent would be, for example, $300 a square metre. If the outgoings in the property are $100 a square metre, then the gross rent will be $400 a square metre. Do you see what I'm saying? So if you lease a property on a gross rent basis, then that number is going to be high. And of course, the rent review profile for that number will always increase your outgoings recoveries because it's already in the rent number. So net or gross. Understand what the passing rents are, net or gross. What they're paying, whether they are fair and reasonable, relating to market. So these two words here, face and effective. A face rent means that the rent was struck using an incentive in the property. An incentive incentivizes the tenant to do the lease deal, of course. But the incentive also needs to be recovered over time. So that rent that they pay actually includes a component of recovery of that incentive. So if you gave the tenant a $10,000 incentive for fit out, then that number should actually be added to the rent, gross or net, over the period of time so that you can get back your incentive plus interest. That's how face rent works. The effective rent is different. That's a lease where there are no incentives whatsoever. So that's an effective rent. So you can have an effective rent that is gross or net. You can have a face rent that is gross or net. But what you need to do there is understand where the incentive is, if it exists at all. No incentive, it's an effective rent. If there's an incentive, it's a face rent. And of course, passing rents are the rents that are actually being paid. Let's go further. The incentives, what can they be? Cash, fit out, or other. There's all sorts of incentives you can give a tenant, but usually the most common ones are cash or fit out. So determine what the incentives are because they will impact the previous comment I made regards market rents. Standard lease documentation is important to me because I need to know what the standard lease documentation will be or exists and how that will be used when it comes to a particular vacancy leasing. I'll go through the standard lease documentation to understand that before I need to use it. So you're considering vacancies and you need to think through what are the tenant offerings. The tenant offerings currently in the property because you want to fill the vacancies. So are there any merchandise groups or service groups that are missing in the tenancy mix? What are actually required? For example, a post office might be required. And what are actually serviced at the moment by the tenants? That's the tenant offerings. When you assess that properly, it helps you understand the types of tenants you need to chase down. Now, the outgoings. When I look at outgoings, understanding that they are already in the market rent situation, which I explained earlier, when you're looking at outgoings, I want to do some comparisons. The outgoings will be a certain amount of money per square metre or per square foot, depending on how you analyse it. And the comparisons to other properties are important to me because I need to know that the outgoings are fair and reasonable for the property that I'm dealing with. That's where I look at other properties. Then I look at the recoveries that I'm getting back from various tenants. Now you understand, I think, the importance of that. So still working with vacancy factors. I'll go right through the landlord works that need to be done in the property with any vacancies that are coming up. For example, if there is a vacancy, are there some landlord works that need to happen within that vacancy prior to the tenant taking occupancy? What are the approval processes when considering the property for fit out? There'll be some building approvals, there'll be landlord approvals, plan approvals, that sort of thing. Then there'll be some leasing agent support. Maybe you're using a leasing agent to make sure those vacancies are filled sooner rather than later. Who is the agent? Are they any good? Are they covering the vacancy? Again, whilst I'm looking at vacancy factors, I'll look at the tenant retention plan because I don't want any more vacancies in the property. So in saying that, the tenant retention plan tends to keep tenants in the property if you work it correctly. The tenant retention plan will be part of the business plan in the property itself. So that and that go together. Now, again, looking at vacancies, I'll go down here and look at the plans and drawings of the property because I need them. I need the plans and drawings when it comes to the vacancies, the property itself, the common areas, the internal and external areas, the surrounding car park, all of that, to explain it to any particular tenants I'll be dealing with. And lastly, I want to look at the marketing brochure. How good is it? Have I got one? Do I need one? Who's going to do it for me? What are the professional photos? All of those sorts of things. So they are the vacancy factors that I've given you, vacancy factors relating to the particular property when I'm assessing a retail shopping centre leasing strategy. Now don't forget to go to the website and get this article, 10 ways to prevent high vacancy factors and tenant turnover. And I do want you to spend some time in this particular list. Please do that. So going back to the chart, there it is there. I'm going to move on into the next program, into tenant clusters and all of these items. There are many different things here. And indeed, this particular chart is so big that I have to break it down for you so you get the maximum value from the program. So enjoy these ideas, use these ideas, and become the retail shopping centre leasing or sales agent of choice, or indeed property management agent, using these strategies to improve your services. Thanks for listening to this program. I'll catch you at the website.